Okay, so you ready? Ready, all set? 2, 3, here we go. Good evening. I'd like to call the meeting the February 2nd, 2016 Planning Board meeting to order. The first item on the agenda is minutes from January 19th, 2016. Mr. Secretary, do you have
Mr.
anything?
Chairman, I recommend approval of the minutes of January 19, 2016.
Second.
Any comments or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
6.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is approval not required plans. Plans received between January 20th and February 2nd, including applicant Kathleen McGovern reconfiguring 13 existing lots located on, is it 13?
St. Mark's Road.
This,
13 into 7.
okay.
Yeah.
I was wondering, that it didn't look like 13. 7 lots.
No.
Reconfiguring 13
Reconfiguring
existing.
13 into 7, okay, 13 into 7, okay, that's why I couldn't recognize it.
13 existing.
Located on St. Mark's Road to meet the current zoning. Anderson Survey, Inc., filed January 20th, 2015. I've had time to go to the office and review this. Does anyone need more time or questions regarding this?
Seems pretty straightforward.
Yeah, Jim? Yeah, I take it that they did it because of square footage?
Craig, my understanding is there's some existing lots of record, and they're creating 7 lots now on this plan. Approval not required because it has the requisite frontage on the public way.
Right, and they also have frontage, okay.
I think the old lots have been merged, and that this is what they created with it.
Survey of record, Mr. Anderson is here, if you need to interpret that.
For the applicant, would you like to speak?
Yes.
Then you need to step up to the mic and introduce yourself.
My name's Kenneth Anderson. I'm the professional land surveyor who prepared the plan. The owner contacted me because she said she had existing lots that were no longer non-conforming, and they weren't grandfathered because they were all adjacent lots. There's a
Merged.
plan on record that shows 13 lots, 12 of which were apparently buildable at the time. They never conveyed on the basis of that plan. That plan's on record at the registry, but the deed description has never been changed. So they contacted me and said, we'd like you to reconfigure that parcel of land to get Form A lots out of it. And that's the end result. In the meantime, the town made a taking of St. Mark's Way and made that a public way. So that's the purpose of this plan.
Yes, sir?
Any comments from the staff?
No, sir.
No mighty fine plan?
Mighty fine plan.
Yes, ma'am.
So I move that we endorse the plan in front of us without regard to buildability and all the other good little clauses in there.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None? Thank you very much. It's a 20 days, is it?
No, we'll sign it tomorrow, put a letter with the clerk. So sometime tomorrow, the secretary will give you a buzz.
Thank you.
You can come and sign it whenever you need. But who, you sign it, fine. Okay. The next applicant is Peter McConaty, Town of Falmouth, to create a 500-foot wide buffer parcel adjacent to Long Pond.
So I'll
Brian, you'll walk us through this?
walk you through this
Thank
on
you.
behalf of the town. So you may recall at town meeting, the committee purchased this property on
Let's go up there.
Route 28, and it looks like this today. You see that?
Is
Okay,
this
there it
the,
is.
This line here?
yeah.
Along the shoreline and then down to, looks like that. And what they're going to do is they're going to create this parcel here, parcel A, not a building lot. That's a parcel, not a lot, not a building lot. Building lot, and they're convey that to the town. Because it's not creating any additional building lots, it's not by a subdivision by definition, and it's entitled to endorsement, approval not required.
Who owns it now?
I believe it's the 300 committee, and it's to be conveyed to the town of Falmouth.
Any cost involved?
Definitely protects that.
Not,
But
we don't know, but,
Right.
this is the plan that they would then write the deed from, to. Right.
That's interesting.
So they're not required to tell us the purpose, it's approval not required, it fits the laws, so we don't,
Not a subdivision by
we
definition.
could ask all the questions, they don't have to say. This is
It's non-buildable, so.
not
It's not-
buildable,
It's not a building, they're not creating a building lot, they're dividing land into 2 or more lots. It's just creating a non-buildable parcel.
other side of the pond.
Over here, oh, yeah, that's right, yeah.
Yes, Paul?
Is this property owned by the 300 committee? Are there restrictions when they acquired it? That would interfere
I don't
with
know,
this?
but I don't believe that's our purview either.
Well, it's part of the wetland.
Again, I don't
But
believe
it's-
it's part of the subdivision control law.
But it's
Those are all
in the
interesting
yeah.
questions, but I don't think they're ours.
Right, you're limited to, does the plan depict a subdivision? Yes or no? That's just the way it is in Massachusetts.
I move we endorse the plan, Town of Falmouth to create the buffer parcel.
Second that.
Any further discussion? Sorry.
What's to discuss?
That's why it's approval not required. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Nay? All set? Approved. Thank you. All right, moving right along. You can see why we have such a packed house tonight.
Yeah, so kind of a ministerial meeting tonight to clean a few things up. But it'd be nice to get them out of the way.
Yep.
And maybe we'll have another little treatise, when time permits, on the subdivision control law. I remember, I think Marlene gave you a tutorial years ago about approval not required and what they are, and a ministerial act for the planning board sometime soon, maybe after the election. All right, so tonight, with your permission, I did go back, you should have an accessory apartment draft dated January 20th. And based on your discussions of 2 weeks ago, I made some changes for you, and they're on page 2. Okay, under design standards. Paragraph 1. So I've added the words "or accessory structure attached thereto," because you wanted it to be attached thereto. I added the word in paragraph 2, to a degree reasonably feasible within a detached accessory structure, because we'll get to this a little later about the site plan versus special permit. So you will, to the degree feasible, the architectural effect within is a single-family home. To the degree reasonably feasible, the architectural effect with a detached accessory structure is that of a garage or barn incidental to a single-family home. And then under procedures, you'll see the first paragraph hasn't changed. If you're constructing within the single-family dwelling, site plan review, parenthetically, design review in front of the planning board. If your accessory apartment in the second paragraph in procedures is within a detached accessory structure, that is parenthetically not attached to a single-family dwelling, in addition to the site plan review, the planning board issues a special permit. And then you take into consideration all the criteria under section 219 plus this bylaw. And you'll notice I placed a footnote, because one of the issues is what is attached and detached. And I think Bob had this nice idea, and I think it passes by Eladio and Frank. Just as a footnote, the accessory apartment cannot be separated from the principal dwelling by uninhabitable space, other than a common entry, mudroom, hallway, or stairway, and then it gives an example. So you just can't attach it with some trellis material and some flagstones. It has to actually be habitable space. And that's the interpretation the building commissioner has used all these years.
Oh, recently,
I'm sorry?
recently.
Recently,
Right, that's,
well, years ago.
5 years.
5 years.
Yeah, there's been a
Right.
change.
Right. So with those changes, I think the board has been working on this since about September, and you've worked hard, done a nice job. My sense is it's ready for public dissemination for discussion purposes only, as a draft. I did have a discussion with Jim about how to bring this out, and I'm working on this, have a, what's new, what's different type of bullet points between this new or this proposed bylaw and what exists. Like right now, the minimum lot size is 15,000 square feet. We're suggesting no minimum lot size, except in a water resource district, you need 10,000 square foot per bedroom. Surprisingly, this bylaw is actually stricter in water resource districts than the current bylaw. The current bylaw will allow you up to have 4 bedrooms on a lot between 15,000 square feet and 40,000 square feet. So if you had a 25,000 square foot lot, you could actually have 4 bedrooms. So this bylaw in resource districts is actually more strict. So I'm putting together those bullet points, it's site plan, it's by right under certain circumstances, special permit through the planning board, could be the zoning board, they do accessory apartments, it's up to you guys, but usually your past practice has been to be the permit granting authority, work the kinks out and pass it along. I think that's worked in the past, it could probably work in this instance too, but no one's wedded to, my sense is no one's wedded to who is the special permit granting authority. In fact, I think probably a good idea to take a look at a bunch of uses you issue special permits for and maybe transfer them to others. So with that, board members, it's up to you to discuss and decide whether or not to send it out.
I would encourage everyone to be a little flexible. We're not making a decision here, we're putting it out for comment to all the boards. We're going to listen to a lot of people, but I'll go along with what you guys say. Yes, Paul?
I agree, we've talked about this and agonized over this for quite a long period of time, and I think we've come to the point where it's time to endorse this and pass it along to other departments for approval. So I make a motion that we endorse this for purposes of circulating with other departments within the town of Falmouth for their comments.
Second.
Second it.
Yes, Ralph?
Yeah, we need to add the word draft up there, Brian. It's not up there.
Oh, yes. Well,
It's always dangerous to have these things floating around with that word, without the word there.
I did send out a copy of this to others, and I made sure it has a watermark, draft, and I'll put up a header for discussion purposes only.
Okay?
Brian, can we make sure this goes to, can we review the people that have been interested in the past, make sure we really get this out to everybody? There's been, we have different housing organizations that come, sometimes they're here, sometimes they're not.
Yeah, housing organizations, the Affordable Housing Committee, the various boards.
Falmouth Enterprise.
The Enterprise.
Okay.
Others who have an interest in this, contracting community,
Right.
the housing community, sure.
That's my thought. Yes, Pat?
I totally agree that we need to get this out and get discussion going on it. But I am curious what the board would like to see for discussion. Are we just going to send this out to various entities and ask them to send their written comments back that we see? Or are we going to send it out and then have, say, a workshop where we get those interested in coming to it to give their comments? I'd like to have the board's opinion on that.
Yeah, I had the same question about whether we just receive written comments or that we have a hearing where different people from different boards.
We will have a hearing, right?
That's
Sometimes it's
after
good
the
to,
fact.
I'm sorry, with your permission.
I'm sorry.
Sometimes it's good to just send it out, get some written comments back, compile them, then have your meeting.
Right, that's what I was thinking,
Okay.
And then say, you know,
both,
both, do both.
Okay.
Do both.
both. That's my thought process, is do both.
That way you can then have some answers ready to some questions, and then have a roundtable discussion
Okay.
with your commenters.
Sounds good.
Well, instead of, maybe, you said workshop, but maybe we could just dedicate a significant part of a meeting.
Whatever, that
Whatever,
could be the
just-
sole substance
Yeah,
of the
right,
meeting.
right, that
I
would
just
be
didn't know how we wanted to
One and the same.
proceed with this.
public, though.
Mhm.
Yeah, okay, I'm fine with either way. I don't know how we're going to set up a workshop. I think it'd be easy to do it on a Tuesday night and just do it.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Anybody else?
There's a motion on it.
How about you, Ken? Anybody, you're okay with this, this draft person? Motion on the floor? All in favor?
Aye.
Time, there's no second.
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah,
2
Bob,
seconds.
There were 2 seconds. Bob and I
Sorry.
simultaneously seconded it.
All in
Opposed?
favor?
None? Thank you very much. We're approved. We'll be moving forward with this.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I'll do then is I'll put together the info sheet, and then probably just go over it with Jim, and then once we're good to go, there'll actually be a little note from you, Jim.
Yep.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, excellent, good job, guys.
Next item on the agenda is the single-family residence conversion bylaw, and this kind of goes hand in hand with what we're doing here. We need to look at the same time.
So now that you've completed your discussions on, for now at least, on the accessory apartment bylaw, I thought we'd move into
Step it up,
this.
Right.
And do the same thing we did for the accessory apartment bylaw, is start off with why are we doing this? What's the purpose? What do you envision this conversion bylaw to be? So I'm going to make you think a little bit about, here's what we have today. Today, we allow people who have a house that was built prior to 1980 to convert it. Why did we do that? Well, some of these homes were no longer economical as single-family dwellings, and they're allowed to then convert just for economic purposes. So if we want to continue or amend this now, I think it's one of the real important things for the board to discuss is why, what do we want to accomplish? Why are we doing this? What's the purpose here? Because when you notice, like, we always write the purpose section first. That's the most important section. Everything else comes out of the purpose section. So if it's to save older homes or convert older homes or be more economical, fine. If it's to provide housing choice, but at least an initial discussion tonight before I draft anything up for you, just like I did the accessory apartment bylaw. Is, where do you want to go with this?
I know,
Without getting into the nitty-gritty details.
this is one of the items that we listened to for the housing studies about some of the things that could be done pretty easily that might create more, and that's, so I think it was originally done to kind of save older structures and big old houses in neighborhoods to keep them from being torn down or whatever, but I think it also has a benefit to actually create more housing in areas where appropriate. So I'm not saying we should do it, but I think there's a little bit more of a purpose here to create housing than just preserve older structures. That's one of the reasons why I suggest we bring it forward. I'd like to hear what other people have to say on that issue.
Well, looking at it and comparing it to the draft of the accessory apartment bylaw, the only thing I see different would be 5A and B, about it being affordable, and there isn't compliance with the additional square footage requirements. And pre-existing conversions performed without the benefit of special permit under this section shall be exempt from the requirements. Everything else we seem to have covered. No home occupations or taking boarders.
Well, Well, one of the reasons.
How is this, I guess my question is, how is
I've had
this
some
different?
I've had some this isn't different, we're talking about, one of the conversations I've had with Brian, and I think the state has this, our past bylaws, we picked specific dates.
Right.
And I guess we've got some guidance from the state that that's not the right way to do it.
Right.
It should be like no older than, or there should be a time frame for it, so it shows a purpose of, so I guess the more important thing is the date. And I think that's going to be a long discussion. I'm not saying we're going to decide it now, but I think we need to know where we're going with this. Am I right with that, Brian?
Yeah, what do you hope to accomplish? The conversion bylaw now allows you to convert up to 4 units. There was a preservation component to it. Do you want to make, that was the emphasis? Now, do you want to emphasize something else? You know, housing choice over preservation, or both, or neither? The bylaw is now 36 years old. And time to, you know, it's been used successfully, I think, pretty much. I think the best example is on Hewan Street on the corner of Main Street there. I thought that was a nice result in a historic district to boot. So really, where do you want this to go? Think of it in those broad terms. You know, do you want to expand it? Do you want to not expand it? And why, do you want to keep it? All those are on the table.
Pat, your thoughts?
Brian, because it's been around for 36 years, there's obviously some history, which I could then ask you, where were the problems in it?
Okay.
Because that would certainly give us some indication of what we need to work on.
Okay.
And as opposed to accessory apartments, it allows up to 4 dwelling units
Right.
rather than 1 extra one, which would then create 2. And I would say that,
It's in an existing structure. It's not new construction.
right. And I would also say that over the last number of years, we've had some very large homes built. And as people age in those homes, it may not be feasible for them to keep it up. Whatever, multitudes of reasons, like with the old homes that we were trying to preserve. And so that 1980 date probably should just go away so that it's allowable to have
Well,
large homes
30 years
converted.
ago, that was only, what, a 10-year-old house? I mean, what was the age of the time, right?
Well, that would have meant, I think the bylaw was created in 1981.
Okay,
So essentially.
1-year-old.
1-year-old house, yeah.
So, I mean, so that's why the date's a big deal.
So just eliminate the date.
We'll talk about it. I don't know about it.
Well, no,
Ken,
I'm throwing these ideas
Yeah.
out.
I know, we're
Brian.
talking, Ken, you have a serious look in your face, so I
Yeah,
hear what
well,
you say.
I don't even know if, like it says, should we touch it? Should we do anything? What is the benefit of changing this? How, other,
Create more housing.
well, that's what you're saying. I'm just saying that's one of the reasons. When is the last time, do we know when the last time this has been used?
That's-
So is it a viable bylaw? Is
Yes,
it-
I know exactly the last time it was used. Brian mixed it up. It is the house on Main Street, corner of Hewens Way. That was Dr. Tripp's house,
And when was
and
that?
just two years ago.
Very recent.
And it took an old barn and a big old house that really needed to be renovated, and it's now 4 units.
Well, see, that I understand, and that's probably like we thought the initial creation of
that's
this
the-
was for.
Right.
So, and that's still in existence for all those older homes, leaving it the way it is.
It's still there, right.
I don't know what the benefit would be. I mean, I can understand if you change the date or get rid of the date.
It came up in the many discussions of how to create housing in the studies we did. It was number 2 on the list. That the first thing was on the list of, I think the phrase was used, low-hanging fruit, was the accessory bylaw. Then the next issue, I think, was talked about with this, and then multifamily. How are we going to create housing for everybody? Because that is our comprehensive plan. So we're trying to work towards a comprehensive plan and do it. It's just the beginning though, Ken. You're right. One of the things is you leave it alone. That's a really good idea. That may happen, but I just thought we should bring it up for discussion.
No, I understand that. I'm just spitting out my opinion.
I hear you.
I don't know if changing this is gonna do anything that you want, or if it would be able to be changed if you decide to change that date. There you get into, you know what I mean? If you bring it up to new houses built today can be converted.
Maybe not.
That's me. I'm just,
Well,
the benefits versus what ramification it might have getting through town.
I guess my thoughts is this is number 2 on our list. We've worked for months, if not longer, on the accessory, and I think this is the next one we'll be working on. I'll probably work on it just as hard and have just as many conversations on it, but that's the thought process. And we already hear different ideas. Anybody else?
Yeah, just a point of clarification, in the bottom 2 paragraphs, B1 refers to number 1 at the top, right? That is B1?
Yes.
Okay. So that, if this is going to be disseminated, then I think that you should have a B1, or B in front of it, or above it, or something like that.
Sure.
And then the second thing is, the very last sentence, where it says appeals within 1 year of the effective date of this bylaw and subsequently approved, that pretty much no longer applies, right? I mean,
Yes.
so you could
That's
delete
history.
that
Yeah.
unless
Yeah, that was-
unless we modify it, and then we'd want to leave it in there.
Right.
Okay.
Today, there's no amnesty.
Right,
But
okay.
just like anything else, you could go back to town meeting and say, yes, no, maybe. Right. In other words, get rid of it. Or
Right. So any changes to this, we would want to be able to say to ourselves and the public, this change is going to help us create more housing, right? I mean, that's the bottom line, right? Unless there's something in there that's confusing or ambiguous or something like that, why would, like Ken says, why would we want to change it unless the change creates more housing, according to the local? When you say on our list, Jim, you're talking about the local comprehensive plan?
Well, no, more so
action items?
on the housing study.
You mean by Judy
Yeah,
Barrett's?
yeah, it was one of the components of that.
Okay.
It was like number 2 or 3 on it.
Okay,
I don't
so-
remember exactly, but there was a long list of things we can do, and
Right.
it was
So when
on the
we,
list.
all right, so my request is that when we make references like that, we're specific about the source, okay? If we say on our list, we want to know, we want to say on
I
the
thought I
housing
did
study
read-
list that was done by Judy Barrett, her recommendation was blah, blah, blah. I think we need to
Excuse
be.
me, I thought I did say that, I'm
No,
sorry.
I don't
if
think you did.
Well,
You
then now-
you said our list. And I think we need to be very
Granted, it's
specific
not our
about the
list.
source of what we're talking about. That's all.
Granted-
That's my request.
I got you. I misspoke. That's right, Ralph, sorry. Ken, yes.
The reason why I brought up, is it something that we want to change is the changing of this goes along with what we did in the past, and we spent a lot of time on the accessory apartments, and I honestly don't want the board to spend a lot of time on this right now until we get some feedback on this. Because this is my
Amen.
thought, because if this comes back and it doesn't look like it's a positive thing, we're wasting time even looking at this right now, until
Okay.
we know if there's gonna be positive
I agree.
input with the first
I
one.
was just giving it due diligence here to talk
No,
about
no,
it
I
tonight, that's
understand
all.
that.
I agree 100%.
Yeah, I'm just thinking out loud a little bit here. Any dwelling in the town of Falmouth can be converted according to this bylaw.
If it was built
Yeah,
in the
built
timeframe.
in that time frame. But there's no district or overlay or
No.
anything that, okay,
I'm sorry, it's in residential zones only.
Yeah,
okay. So there is a
Right.
specificity to
Right.
where this
Right.
can happen. And there's no square footage for each dwelling unit within an existing
Just-
building.
lot size. It's
Just a
Yeah,
lot
just,
size.
well, lot size, yes, but within a building itself. Because I'm just trying to square this with the accessory bylaw that we're working on, and I'm just wondering if we may be able to meld the two together, or if they do
Yeah.
have to remain separate unto themselves. And it seems like people would actually have a choice if they're in the right district. They might have a choice of which one they would choose to do, whether they want to go with 4 units or whether they would just want to go
Yep.
with an accessory.
Yep. Can be very confusing.
Yeah, those are just my,
And in one case,
Out loud thoughts.
one case, a special permit comes from us, and then the other, the
Right.
special permit comes from the ZBA.
yeah,
So
That's
right
a really-
off the bat, you got issues.
yeah.
That's a really good point. That's a really good point.
I'll make one comment, to be the devil's advocate on this. What I see on this is if you change the date, every large house that nobody can ever sell, they can turn it into 4
Right.
condos, apartments, whatever they want to do. That's the devil's advocate on changing this.
Which is why I brought that up.
But
No, I'm just,
in
I'm
nine-
just,
in
that's-
nine- in 1981, when our predecessors passed the bylaw, that's exactly what they intended to do.
yeah.
So, yes, the answer to your question is yes. And that was the intent of the law.
Well, it allowed it. I think the intent was to save the old houses initially. It created housing, but I think
They
the
passed it in
intent was-
1985, so it was for 5-year-old houses at the time. So the numbers speak for themselves. We'll have a long discussion on this in the future.
But that, sorry.
Yes, Ralph?
What it says there is, no additional bedrooms shall be allowed above that. So you could
Right,
chop
so-
up the house and make a bunch of 1-bedroom places in it.
If you had a
there are
4-bed-
already 4 bedrooms.
If you had 4-bedroom
Right,
houses.
or 3-bedroom, you chop it.
So what you're really doing is creating more units with the same amount of people in the house.
Well, depends
Yeah.
on whether you
No,
have 2
you could-
people living in a new unit or whether there's just 1 person living in the bedroom.
I believe they assume 2 people per bedroom according to our health structure.
Well,
But
I
I'm not sure,
don't-
of that,
I
but that's
can't
my
answer that.
understanding, that's the assumption.
Okay.
Yeah, the idea is to create more housing, Ralph.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
We're all on the same page there.
And I don't mean to speak as an advocate, I'm just
Yeah.
bringing it up.
Great.
We have a lot, okay, we don't need to belabor this, it's gonna come after we work on the accessory, so we've discussed it a little bit more, we'll deal with it separately, or
Yeah,
actually
I'll-
maybe merge it.
What I'll do now, like I said, it's just a very initial discussion, so I'll go out and get you some information. How many applications have we had? Yeah, how many have been approved or denied?
Yeah, I know.
What are some lessons learned? What are some success stories? What are some problem stories? The purpose is to create more housing. Well, you're a planning board, you survey the whole field. And does it make sense to merge it with one process? All great questions. You know. And sure, let's find out if there's an appetite for it out there, based on the responses you get to this initial accessory plan. All, because, you're right, timing is everything.
Yep.
But nice discussion.
Okay,
So,
and the third piece is, I think we're gonna have to deal with, at some time, but I don't know how heavily discussion we should go into it until we get to A and B. This is almost like Part C on the multifamily.
yeah, it's kind of a three-pronged approach the board's been taking. We've been working in the background, trying to get some information to you about density and whatnot, and mapping. But we put together essentially a chalk for you, you know, of, this is a multifamily district. This is its purpose. You know, here's how we establish it. Here are some use regulations and dimensional regulations. In the best of all worlds, you know, again, just like the initial discussion we just had on accessory and conversions, why are we doing this? What do you hope to accomplish? What might make some sense? And just think about it for a while. This is obviously going to come in a little bit later. We may not make the November town meeting with this one, but this is an extremely important part of if people don't want to have accessory apartments, and folks don't want to convert, then this might be your fallback, to say that, okay, in certain areas, we'll have a multifamily dwellings up to X units an acre, something that might be then more doable,
So
right?
the
So,
the point is we should move first on the other two to see where that's going and then bring this up behind.
Right,
Let
well-
everyone know it's there.
right, you know, it's there, we're all sort of, it's all a sort of a parallel track,
Right.
but some are ahead of the others. And
Because-
this is sort of following along the other two initiatives. But we should start thinking about it as a board, only because it takes a long time to do it.
Yeah.
And if in fact, you might have an appetite out there for a multifamily dwelling. Maybe people don't want more retail space anymore, maybe they want to be able to do this. You'll see some success stories, they'll see those maps, they're out there today. Might make some sense. So I want to keep this on the third burner, but you'd be surprised how fast it might get moved forward.
I think a good thing to do would be to have a list of all the properties that have used the conversion bylaw.
Yes, I'm going to get
Right,
that for you.
you know, because I know of a couple, I remember the first couple, but I don't know them all, but I think it'd be a good thing, you mentioned success stories, and that's what brings that to
So
mind.
if you can convert a building into 4 units in an area that makes sense, and it's actually translates to 20 units an acre, you actually have a multifamily district today. So it might just be an exercise in mapping it, what existing conditions are. And instead of making it a special permit process, you know, it's a multifamily district, then it's by right. You might go through a site plan review, like you do the accessory apartment bylaws for certain design parameters. But if I've taken some homes on Palmer Avenue or on Queen Street or on these GR districts and converted them today and they look just fine, there you go.
Now, on the conversion bylaw, you're really not allowed to make substantial changes to the outside. It's only for egress purposes, like you can't put a big addition on it or anything like that. So you
But,
don't
you know-
really get to change the look of the property other than the fact that it has
Right.
8 doors if it has 4 units, because it has to have 2 means of egress for each.
So it might be that you have an area that makes sense to take a highway business use, an old garage,
Yeah.
gas station, and build some housing. Because that's what the demand is for. You know, people are looking for these types of housing opportunities. So, you know, just take a look at it, mark it up, think about where these things are, the maps we gave you, the information we gave you. We'll be back to talk about it after,
All right.
probably after your discussions with
All
the
wrong.
other initiatives you have.
Paul, you had,
Yeah, we had a motion to move forward with the accessory bylaw, but I'm intrigued by the comment I think Ken made about combining these into one bylaw. And I think it makes some sense to have it all together. I wouldn't want to hold up the accessory bylaw, but we may want to think ahead and have it perhaps as a housing bylaw, and then once that goes through, add these as a amendment to that.
you're setting in both. We already agreed to do that for the conversion, but you're saying with the multifamily as well.
Yeah, with these others, put them in one bylaw, that way you have all the housing in one. That would make more sense, I think, if you're looking at it. I wouldn't want to hold up the accessory bylaw now,
Okay.
but if you're thinking ahead,
Mhm.
maybe we should name that accessory bylaw something about housing, and then if that passes, we can add these other things to it in due time. We're going to wait anyway.
Make it your housing choice bylaw.
Okay,
Sorry?
that sounds, and then we put, and have an A, B, and C.
Yeah.
And then we see how it goes. We start off with A, and if we don't get A, if the town meeting doesn't vote for A, we don't work too hard on B and C.
Yeah, you fall back, you
The
regroup.
funny thing is you might not get A, but you could get B.
Well, we might, right,
Yeah.
right,
So,
right, agreed. But we should try them in that order, is the process.
Yeah,
Sure,
Good point.
yeah.
you combine, okay.
Well, we're moving right along.
Take a good look at it, and I think, again, the purpose and the establishment, everything else flows out of that.
Next item on the agenda is general correspondence, and the only thing in the file was this, the Town of Falmouth Plan for Improving Transportation Network for Bicycling. It was just distributed to all the members, so I don't expect you to make any comment on it tonight. You've all been given it. Take the time to read it, and it'll be on a future agenda.
A lot of homework.
Homework, that's what we like.
Turn it on both sides.
Next thing is future agenda items. I have one I discussed with Brian, but I'd like to, he said we could just go ahead and do it.
Well, there was something we
No,
discussed
no,
at
I
our
was-
last
no, no,
LCP
no,
meeting,
I was
and I
gonna
can't
bring it up.
remember what it was.
I have spent some time in the television room there, and there's an advantage when the PowerPoint presentation is done and the plans go up on the screen.
Oh, that's what it was.
Everybody at home sees the plan.
Yeah.
You know, and when we have it on our desk, no one can see it. So I've suggested to Brian that as part of our process, that whether it, not necessarily a PowerPoint, but any plan, they
Give us a PDF?
PDF, we throw it up on the screen, and everybody at home can see it at the exact same time. And Brian said, we can just do that, we don't need to have a big hearing or discussion on it, but I just was sharing with you, I thought about this a while ago, and I was in that room watching the plans go up and say, wow, this is great, why aren't we doing this all the time? And the idea is, I've heard that we might someday have, we had talked about a room with a big video display, and that would be built into our meetings, but we could do it with the existing equipment we have now on plans, so we don't go around. One of the things that it's bothered me is when the plans come in over at different times, and we have one plan in front of us, and they get another plan, and they're looking at this, we're talking about different plans. If everyone's looking all at the same plan, and the audience is all looking at the same plan, and the people at home all looking at the same plan, I just think, we got the technology, we should try to move in that direction. So we're gonna give it a shot, see if it's doable.
Okay?
Okay?
We would still have a plan in front of us,
Well,
and then the audience
Yeah, but-
here and the television audience would be able to see it.
Or we'd have it on the screen too. We might not have to have a plan for each of us. We'd all be able to see the plan there, and we'd have plans in front of us too.
Yeah, okay,
But not limited to just we're the only ones with the plans.
yeah, I understand.
That's the idea.
You could have a laser pointer and everything.
A laser pointer, click on it, everyone can see it. I mean, we got this is 20-year-old technology. We can do this.
Mhm.
It might be 30-year-old technology, I don't know.
It takes some effort on the staff to set it
I have
up.
a very old one of those machines.
No, I just asked the applicant to give us a PDF,
Right.
and we can actually download it to the computer upstairs and pick it up down here. This is linked to the town's network.
Right.
So we don't have to even download it into this computer. It's-
But in a pinch, they can come with a thumb drive, plug it in and go too. I mean, you
Correct.
know, that's not, it's,
No problem. We'll have that at your next meeting, because you're gonna have some plans to review.
so that everybody in the room would see it, people at home would see it, and the applicant can walk us through on the screen with and I just think. Okay, anyone else? That was my addition. Anyone else of future agenda items? Yes, Paul?
Yeah, last fall, we talked about coastal resiliency, and I provided a report to the chairman that you were going to discuss that at your subcommittee meeting. Has there been any discussion, or is there any thoughts about maybe inviting some of those people into our board to talk about what the town might be able to do with those kind of modeling studies being paid for by the state?
Not yet. Our coastal resiliency thing was,
Coastal, future agenda item.
Right.
For an answer.
not yet, is the answer. So we should put it on the agenda.
Thank you.
No discussion. You're right. Thank you. And Brian, you've mentioned that you want to change the meeting date, is that correct, for the next meeting?
Right, give you guys a 9th off, because we have a lot of plan reviews coming up. I just don't have time to do the staff reports, and so we scheduled things for the 16th, not the 9th.
So the
It'll be your next
meeting's on
meeting.
the 16th.
And you'll be seeing some plan reviews for site plans.
That's a school week. School is out.
Yeah, well, that's where the other reason for it. We get school vacation week off.
School vacation's that week. If that affects anything. I don't
School
know.
vacation's the 16th.
Yeah.
Is it the
It's week of
16th?
16th, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people will not be in town because of it.
So we're
Because
going to
Monday's
meet
the
that week
holiday.
of this, that week. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
We're going to meet that week,
Yeah, the week of the 16th.
which is the school
Just
vacation?
School vacation, but we have meetings during school vacations all the time, so.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Just-
Well, the main point is Brian got some things he's got to do some time on, and our schedule isn't jammed. I think it's appropriate to
Okay.
let him do his homework and bring it forward. I'm okay with it. Everybody else okay?
Right.
Yep, it's
The
okay.
16th.
Jim, for future agenda items, what about the appeal that we've been notified about? At what point will that appeal appear before us, or is it going straight to the court?
That goes to court.
Straight to the court? Okay.
It's available,
We can read about it in the
yeah, you can
office,
read
right?
about it in the office. It's, we
Okay.
don't have to discuss it
Okay.
publicly. We shouldn't.
Fine.
Yes, Paul?
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All set. Thank you, everybody.